Yeah, and as usual, if everything went well, we should be live on another episode of Everything Outside Code. And today I have a fantastic guest on the show. I have Gustavo Grossi. Gustavo has wealth of experience spanning over a decade in product development, product management, and marketing, and just overall go to market. Maybe not just marketing, because we're going to be we're going to be covering a bit of all these things, but focusing a lot more today around LinkedIn growth, B2B sales, and just how to derive value from the platform that is LinkedIn. So if you are listening, please leave comments in the comment section wherever on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter, and we would take them. Typically, at the end of this episode, you should understand what Gustavo does, how Gustavo could help you, and then learn a ton from everything we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to give it to the man of the moment, Gustavo. How you doing today, man? And thanks for coming on the show.
Doing great, William, and glad to be speaking to your audience. Hope to share some interesting experiences here, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. We could just get right to it. If you could tell us a bit about yourself, what you do, and your experience up until now, that'd be great.
Well, long story short, a couple of years in marketing, a couple of years in product development, product management, and many business built sometimes as side projects whilst working full time within a company, and now bootstrapping my own businesses full time and taking a more serious approach. I've been
Yeah.
mostly in the SaaS industry most of my life. I had a couple of adventurous years in the Web3 space. By the way, I'm a crypto enthusiast since the very, very early day. My first Bitcoin transaction was in 2014. um, but went back to the Web 2 industry, how we usually say, or the traditional industry.
Industry. It
Uh,
sounds weird to
yeah,
say web
but
two.
a little more foot on the ground, right? And
Mm-hmm.
after creating and launching dozens of products to the marketing, and not only going to the market, but also getting back from the marketing to build something even better many times. Uh, uh, Decided to circle back to the roots that are marketing and sales, and uh, hone off all of my skills on building something good in this industry.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can imagine that you have there's been like at least some crossovers from your product management and product development experience and also leadership as a founder that's crossed over into sales and marketing, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's the front door of any business, right? You don't survive without revenue. Particularly, I'm not a big fan of going pre-seed or investing into ideas or very early stage products. Instead, I prefer to take the risk myself, capturing everything I can, and also leveraging my past experiences I had, not only working by myself but also into other companies, to see how that rolls. And no wonder many of my projects have failed, but that's part of the curriculum, right?
Exactly. That's like you put it just perfectly. It's part of the course where you pay for it in time, you spend some money,
Yeah,
but
I,
it's
I
just
call it
course
I,
materials you're paying
I
for.
call it testing budget.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way to see it. You're building out of Brazil. I've met very few builders out of Brazil just because I mean it's on the other side of the world. How is it like there? I just want I'm curious. How is it like building from there? The community, the ecosystem, technology.
Well, Brazil is quite idiosyncratic. First, because matter of fact, most of Brazilians, and don't ask me why, struggle with English speaking business and clients. So Brazilians have a lot of skills, especially in the technology area.
Okay.
Brazilians are entrepreneurs by heart, but most of the people are not familiar with English, or they struggle too much, or they're just afraid by going global. So
Huh.
many of the talents here just stay here. I find it quite unfair, man. I think we could have an entrepreneurial revolution around here if we just overcame this situation. On the flip
Yeah.
side, those who overcome this barrier are very, very in contact. Brazilians are usually well received by the US and Europe access because we're seen as hard workers, intelligent workers, and people that have good soft skills per se. So, for example, if you hire software developers that usually have a more analytical personality, some sort of temperament for going a little more, how would I say, low profile. Eventually, if that's a downside of managing software teams, you can overcome that by hiring Brazilian software developers that
Hmm.
have no debt regarding other countries' software engineers compared to them,
Mm-hmm.
and also we'll have with this additional layer of personality traits that can help a business thrive.
Yeah.
Even more if we're talking about startups where you need flexibility and you need a lot of initiative and communication and people taking the lead to solve problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see. Well, that sounds interesting. It sounds like I need to find my way to Brazil at some point. And once I find a couple of people that speak English well, at least they're confident enough with it, then I'll feel at home with, like,
Yeah,
doing business
well,
there.
uh, still speaking about Brazil, there's an interesting constraint at the moment that is the economic scenario. That is,
Okay.
we have a depreciated uh, uh, how
Real,
could I say
the currency.
exchange rate? Yeah,
Okay.
precisely. So earning in dollar is posing as a major change into the financial situation for many people. So I think this is kind of an economical factor that is incentivizing people to overcome their struggle in penetrating global markets and taking the lead
Oh,
on that.
aha. I see. So I just say remote job, you learn English or not. And
Yeah,
the
give it away, man.
yeah, that's
Give
it.
it away.
Yeah, that's it. And then the peak. That's really cool. Thanks. Thanks for that insight into Brazil. So let's talk about what you do now. Ignite Sales. Could you share a bit more about that? What's Ignite Sales, and what does anyone get from Ignite Sales? What's the transformation they get?
Yeah, and I think during my own presentation, I forgot to top up the cherry over the cake. That is, I found on LinkedIn an amazing space. I've tested out many different networks, such as Twitter, Instagram, but found nowhere near the power of LinkedIn at the moment. And I'm kind of got passionate about it because there are so many opportunities. There is less and less, let's say, fancy content or people sharing too much about their personal lives. You know, it's always worth sharing about your personal life. But for example, on Instagram, you will find maybe a kind of overkill personal content, and on Twitter is all about communities, finding your people, and so on. And on LinkedIn, the reach is much higher and is targeted for business. So uh, you always talk about things that will leverage your business. The Let's say everything there is for the sake of improving your
Mm-hmm.
business. So it already starts by filtering out everyone that's not interested about that. And of course the network is huge. There's always people coming and going, and it's a very good opportunity not only for reach but also for nurturing real relationships. We have the LinkedIn DMs that for me is the second most powerful sales tool of today, just behind email,
Okay.
right? It's the best way to talk synchronously with people, and even if asynchronously, the reply rates and the way you can engage has a lot of different resources you can leverage to not only sell but only nurture relationships, because after all, at the end of the day, selling is all about creating relationships.
True. That's very true. And I like when you talk about, LinkedIn being very powerful. Could you expand more what makes it powerful? I know you touched on like bits and pieces of how it differs with like other social media, but what truly stands out in LinkedIn? Because some other people have like also opinions of like, yeah, LinkedIn is like cringe streets. Everyone's congratulating every other person, and everyone is thrilled to share
Yeah.
something every other day. But in your opinion, it's powerful, and the DMs are like super powerful behind email. What, in your opinion, makes it this powerful?
Well, just between us, I once have heard from an entrepreneur a couple of years ago. He said, LinkedIn is a network for losers, because
Oh,
you only see people chasing jobs there, and if you are chasing a job desperately, you are a loser. And
yeah.
because I
Wow.
haven't really dig into LinkedIn, uh, just between us, I believed in that idiot quote for a while, until some people just came to me, some people I just found there, and we not only became friends, but we became partners. And so was like the initial spark for me to see LinkedIn with other eyes. Also,
Hmm.
we've seen a huge content revolution in the past years. If you ask me 10 years ago what would be the best source for traffic and sales, I would say, dude, create a blog, start publishing long form content on a daily basis, and Google will reward you for that. And soon you will have 100,000 visitors per month. But nowadays, due to first, I think the overall audience behavior have changed towards a little more short form content. Not saying that blogs no longer work; they're still growing, they still thrive, but the audience's behavior has changed a little bit, and people are seeking deep knowledge into bits of content. So why bother writing a 1,000 word blog post to explain uh, how many feet or how many meters the Eiffel Tower
Hmm.
has? It's
Yeah.
300 meters, man, and that's it. That's what you need to provide to people.
Yeah.
And it's no more, it's less of an algorithm game, but much more how much value you can provide to the people, and use the algorithm in favor of yourself. But still, back to the basics, content is still king, and content is not about a number of words you display. It's about creating authority and providing value to people. So
Yeah.
circling back to that, you no longer need to create very uh, complex funnels no more, because in the same network, you have the power to craft the content in the format you want, either long form, short
Hmm.
form, short videos, long videos, webinars, and drive people to talk to you directly, right? So
Yeah.
why would someone convert into a landing page to watch a recorded webinar of yourself if they can just ask you a question and go straight to the point? So this shortens the sales life cycle a lot. And
Hmm.
for me, where it comes the second wave or the second industrial revolution inside LinkedIn is the capacity of uh, is the efficiency capacity that targeting, prospecting, and automation can do on your behalf. Because now you can do much more personalization and you can fetch intent triggers from people to provide them with what they want. So I think
Yeah.
this set of features that LinkedIn has, maybe that wasn't that intentional from the LinkedIn development team and the LinkedIn's management, ended up
Hmm.
into this business format where you can run a company from zero to millions of ARR just based out of LinkedIn.
Yeah. Huh, that makes sense. I mean, I work in content, so I'm always very particular about content and I care about it. I'm curious, in your opinion, what would you say is like your go-to method for actually creating content specifically for LinkedIn, right? What are some things you consider? Obviously, the outcome is there. You've talked about like the depth also, but is there any other thing? So I'm a founder. I want to do more on LinkedIn. I want to create more on LinkedIn. What would you recommend as sort of like a high level go to strategy to think about?
Well, I've seen this is another interesting point because I've seen many different formats that work, and each one based on the personal trait of whoever's sharing that. So I've seen people that got like insane engagement by uh, just creating uh, ordinary posts and including a personal photo of them. So this is
Hmm.
kind of a let's say a trend right now. So
Yeah, I
you
see
share
that.
something about your business, you share something really serious about growth or business itself. You can even sound salesy, but you kind of ease that sales speech, sales discourse by including a personal picture. So it kind of
Hmm.
balances the uh, your content with bringing in, hey, this is a real person who's sharing that. I'm sharing my face here, and I am here to say, I don't know, you need to hire more salespeople, or here's the
Yeah.
best technique for growing your business within the next uh, 12 months, and so on.
Hmm.
Other interesting formats are the LinkedIn newsletter. If you haven't tried it, it's
No, I
awesome
haven't.
because LinkedIn's promotes you a lot if you use all of their resources. So they're gonna like notify a lot of people if you build a new LinkedIn newsletter. You can easily get to your first hundreds of subscribers just by launching and publishing your first text. Um, for me, what worked best is the giveaway, what I call, I still don't have a perfect name for that. So maybe you could help me with the name, but is the giveaway based content. That is, I prepare a whole chunk, a massive, uh, rich material to be shared for the interested people. So
Hmm.
usually I do it on a weekly basis. Of course, I share other stuff as well, but the ones that get most engagement and drive me most of my clients are rich content where people have to engage with their content to get access. So usually they are lead magnets, but
Okay.
instead just publishing it to a website, you share it through the DMs. So, hey, if you're interested in getting this, for example, my last post, I uh, I filtered a list of more than 3,000 CEOs of SaaS startups from the United States, and
Hmm.
using automation, I filtered out those who are most present on LinkedIn for people that wants to target SaaS founders in the United States. So if you want a sample of this list, just shake your hands. So wave hands here, and I'll let you
Yeah.
know, and I'll slide into your DMs and share this with you.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and for that, in exchange for the engagement, you provide them with like an over delivery of value.
Yeah.
And
That
over
makes
time, you
sense.
you build trust with that. because people like to get the rich materials you have to share. And this was the strategy that mostly worked for me. And this is what I'm honing over time to provide better and better materials like that.
Yeah, that's I mean that like sort of like value based or value centric engagement system. That makes sense. I see a few times, but I guess people also consider the amount of work it would take to create the resource and then put it out there, and then you're risking that not many people want it, and you already spend like so much time on that. That might be a consideration people would make, but it's great to know that at least it works. People actually like respond to that.
Yeah, so I can disclose my secret there. First is talk to people on our DMs and get to know what they're interested about. You don't need to
Okay.
have a big following to understand that. Just drop people the line. Hey, I'm thinking about launching a material that's about XYZ. How do you think about that? Or what do you like different? Also, an interesting thing that I like doing is surveying people about perfect headlines for these materials. So, uh, like, you just ask them, hey, can you do me a favor? Just could you vote for the headline that most appeals you for the material I'm launching uh, pretty soon? And
Mm-hmm.
people love to interact with these things. But yeah, you are right. It takes more work to develop them. But also, an interesting way to figure out that is repurpose of other people's content, but empowering it with a layer of value. So,
Okay.
uh, for example, a big creator, Matt Lakajev. Hey, man, if you're watching this, love you, man. um, he just said, "Hey, this is how I prospect people on LinkedIn. I leverage that right sidebar that say uh, people who search for this person also search for these other people. If you go to LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
you easily spot that. So those are what I call related profiles. So what he says
Mm-hmm.
is, I find my ICP on LinkedIn. I get someone that is already my client or someone that went pretty much into the bottom of my sales funnel. And I go to this person's LinkedIn profile and list all the people that are related to their profile. And then I find those who are most active on LinkedIn. So they have been posted recently, or they have been posting, say, 2 to 3 times per week at least. And then I engage with their content for a couple of days, and then I drop a connection request. For those who are not aware, LinkedIn limits the amount of connection requests you can send per week. So you must pick your connections wisely, right? uh, so he described his method, and he say you do that over and over until you get a list of 150 people, because usually that's the weekly cap for premium LinkedIn users. If you're not premium, that cap is a little lower. Um, and then you do it, and you will boost your connection request acceptance to somewhere around 80 or 90%. And I said, hey, man, this is awesome. This is just valuable. So I went there and created a tool that does that job. Like, you just input your ICP's LinkedIn URL, and I developed a
Mm-hmm.
bot that does all this workflow and gives people a smaller sample, because I pay API credits for that, of 30 names, not 150.
Yeah.
Where, hey, claim your three prospects list based out of your desired ICP's LinkedIn URL. And not only that, I'm going to deliver that into an Excel sheet that will also scrape their 4 latest posts. So you can just have a direct link to it. And just with one click, you can engage with it. And after 4 to 5 days, you can drop that connection request that will have
Yeah.
80% probability of getting accepted.
Yeah.
So that kind of went viral, got more than 1,000 comments on a single post. and I reposted them later and got and got that. So I'm repurposing that over and over. This is never gonna die because it's an awesome
Uh, It's
lead magnet,
valuable.
and there is always new people wanting that.
Yeah, that's right. Something I know a lot of people struggle with is the something I just coined now, and I call it second message syndrome. Right. So you connect with someone, you send the first message, and then it's like, what do I say next to this person to like keep the conversation going? People even struggle with the first message syndrome. Like you connect with someone, so what do I say? Do I use the hey, it's nice to connect and try to be like pander to them, or do I just give them a compliment? And then it sounds like sales. Some people just go straight, shoot straight, try to sell something, right? What are your thoughts on like, but maybe the first and the second message that you send to people when you connect with them?
Well, so first thing, there are two approaches, and both may work, but the secret behind that is how well did you create your list, right? So,
Okay.
are you prospecting to people that are not even aware about the problem? Because after all, outbound marketing is all about finding the people that are in the right moment for purchasing whatever you are offering. Other than that, there are traditional sales funnels that work much better. So,
Mm-hmm.
how do you identify intent triggers that people will respond positively from a sales approach? So, there's no problem at all into sounding salesy. The problem is talking like that to someone that is not even aware about uh,
What you're
what
talking
you're
about,
talking
like what you're
about.
selling. Yeah.
And not only what you're selling, they are not in the right moment. Maybe they don't even need your product. You segmented that badly. So this is the number one mistake from people, and that's why I invest so much. And my agency, productized agency, is based on building highly targeted lists because that's 50% of the problems. But let's pretend you did your homework and you have a highly targeted prospect list.
Mm-hmm.
You have two different approaches. From my experience, if you want to go straight to the target and you just want to like drop a very very bottom of funnel message to the person, like go straight to book a sales call or straight even to the buy button. uh, First, make sure that this person is at the right purchase moment and they have all the purchase intent triggers. And second, uh, don't over talk, man. Just say, hey, do you need more leads? Do you need to book more sales calls within the uh, uh, I don't know, 6 to 12 weeks? Or how much clear can you be within your sales message? If you could just translate that into factual numbers backed by real data, then that's the best way it works. So you could just go straight to the numbers. Like, do you want to generate, I don't know, uh, 20 sales calls within the next 6 weeks? Yes or no? I sell it. All right. I guarantee that first.
Yeah.
This usually works well. If or otherwise, if it's backed up by uh, real results, success cases, you can
Mm-hmm.
also outline that, right? So, hey, I have a client from your segment that behaves just like you, and he got XYZ results. Would you be open for me to present how they did that? So you're going straight to the point. You are being salesy, but you are proving to the person you're talking about you are well researched, and you are talking about a real problem that they're facing. Other than that, you have the slightly different approach that is, uh, let's warm up our conversation. Let's, chat a little bit. Let's do some small talk. Let me know, how are you? how's your day going, and uh, give me hints that you are at the right spot for being offered with what I have to sell, right? So first thing, if you want to go through that path, the best way is provide value to the, I mean, it's always provide value to first, right? Don't ask people to purchase or to
Hmm.
like your content or to check your content. Instead, go after them, go to their LinkedIn profile, see what are they talking, engage with that content, drop meaningful comments, drop them some uh, uh, skill highlights, and leave them all the likes and reactions all around. So you are providing them with something, and you are providing that you're a real person, not just something willing to take their money and fade away,
Yeah.
right? So if you'd like to engage talking about something that they have, like, for example, they could share a problem, or they could share a personal experience about traveling to somewhere or
Hmm.
attending conference or getting some sort of results. Use that as a hook to engage into a meaningful conversation, but like, do it honestly, man. do it
Yeah.
do it do it with your heart, right? Don't
Yeah.
just try to say to sell. And if you must have the maturity, and this is going to save you a lot of trouble and a lot of wasted time and opportunities. Like, leave your mark, and if that's not the right moment for selling for that person, just let it be. Don't burn your cartridges, right?
Yeah.
Just leave that, so the person can reach out to you later at some point, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're very, very right. I mean, I say this even to like our sales team internally at Hackmamba, is that when you spend a lot of time uh upstream finding people that have a problem, basically just finding someone that you can say to them, hey, you dropped your wallet, here's your wallet, and they would say, oh my god, thank you so much. That's how we want to sell, right? We want to give someone something that they feel like, wow, I'm glad you gave me this thing. How can I reward you? They feel like this is the next best thing to sliced bread. But we need to find those people, and we spend a lot of time finding those people. Like, we're like, hey, we need to find someone with a problem before we reach out to them. Else we risk reaching out to people that do not have problems, and then we burn the brand by putting them in some sequence, and we bombard them with like emails and LinkedIn messages, and it just doesn't work. And it has actually a net negative impact on us, because they just lose trust in the brand. They come across the brand and they associate us with like spamming, like we spam them with messages. So because of that, we used to do like bulk outreach, and I'm like, okay, let's like relax this thing. If we're going to, and also because of the nature of our business, we're an agency, so it sort of makes sense. We just need to reach 50 to 100 like customers, and we will be good. We don't need to reach like 5,000 users or 20,000 users like a product. So we did that. That was good. We're seeing like positive responses. We're also building relationships. So if we reach out to someone that we thought have that they have a problem, but they don't, they are a lot closer to having a problem. Maybe it's just not the right time for them to explore a solution. They're always
Yes.
open to keep a line of communication open, like just stay in touch. That's what they would typically say. It's like, hey, we're not looking at this now, but let's stay in touch for like later, maybe when the conditions are right. But then this brings me to my next question. We do this, and we're able to do this because we're an agency, we're a service business, and we can reach like individual people, and that's fine. But what about products where they're looking at like 10,000 users? That's their goal, right? They need to reach a lot of users, and the price point pretty low. Let's say they're selling like some sales to the the lowest like price they will have, I'd say, is $99 a month per user. So that's not really, I wouldn't say that's like worth the time of someone to go on like LinkedIn or any social channel whatsoever, trying to like nurture a prospect and see if, or doing their homework to see if this person is ready to buy this solution. I think they would reserve that for more enterprise deals. But how does this work? How does this dynamic on LinkedIn work with like messaging and outreach? How does it work for like your product where your goal is to reach thousands of people? Does it even work? Is that something to consider? What are your thoughts around that?
Well, there's a fabulous metric. There is the lifetime value divided by the cost of acquisition of a client. So, or in other words, how much in terms of resources and time are you putting to get a new client, and how much this is rewarding you over time? So even for low ticket sales that may give you a decent ROI, because currently we have so many options and we have so many uh, efficiency drivers such as automations. And not only automations, we have many techniques that can be applied on that, where the cost of making a sale is lowering a lot, especially on LinkedIn, right? When it comes to email
Mm-hmm.
marketing, it's always been rewarding since internet is the internet, but that fluctuates over time, especially as you mentioned, the anti-spam initiatives from email providers and social networks are increasing over time. So if you manage to, so nowadays you don't have to incur into the manual work of going person after person and reading their profiles and doing all the stuff and one by one to then drop them a message. Instead, you have many resources where you can just scrape a list of prospects that share a common purchase trigger, and that's going to filter your prospecting efforts a lot. So, say with a couple of hundreds of dollars, you can generate highly targeted lists that will keep your prospecting team, at least your SDR team, busy for a month. And so, if you convert just a couple of them, you're going to target eventually thousands of people. So numbers game, if you have a limit of 150 connection requests on LinkedIn per week, so you have 4 weeks per month, 600 per profile. You have two SDRs. There's already 1,200 people contacted within a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you convert out of 100, oh, sorry, 1,200 people, if you convert just one client of $100 monthly offer, that's going to be paid out for your entire month of prospecting after 5 months. So
Yeah.
what's the problem on that? People are, I see that many people are still thinking the old school way, but there are lots of awesome resources popping up all around to help you get there with a much lower cost. You don't have to maximize your staff count of salespeople. All you need is 2 to 4 well-trained guys with the right tools at their hands.
Yeah. That makes a whole lot of sense. I can imagine now that you do the math and you look at it from like a long-term play perspective. Look at like the lifetime value of a customer. Because with like a subscription product, especially if you have a sticky product and you know that the average user just never leaves, right? Churn is like super low. So you've built a great product, step one, with very low churn. The lifetime value pretty high, as against service businesses that we know have really high churn rates, and they're mostly project based, and they're scoped to like maybe let's say 3 months or a quarter. Sometimes any agency or service business that tries to lock you in to like a year-long agreement, you're already like, no, this is this is not for me. This is too much commitment, right? So the lifetime values are usually smaller because the commitment periods too are smaller. So looking at it from a long-term perspective, I think that makes sense. You talked a lot about prospecting, right? For most of my audience, they are founders and entrepreneurs and engineers. For anyone new to sales, what is prospecting and how does prospecting, in your opinion, work on LinkedIn? Just giving like a 101 on that.
Well, I was afraid of prospecting most of my life. And when I started out my career, I started in a company where they were overly focused on inbound marketing. So blogging was pumping up at the moment. It was somewhere around 10 years ago. Uh, Blogging was blowing, and Google traffic was like people were surfing the waves. And we never feel the need of targeting people directly through outbound. Like we never felt the need of going out to the marketing, finding the people, connecting with them, leveraging conversations to them sell them something. Instead, our philosophy was all about attracting people, attract them, and uh, publish, and they will come. And that used to happen. Nowadays, the competition is much, much higher. Of course, inbound is essential for the long run.
Mm-hmm.
But currently, we have this new term that is the full bound cycle. That is, you never stop doing both things, right? It's not one or another; it's both. And the only thing you should care about is that throughout your business life cycle, one will play a bigger role than the other. And the most immediate results you can get by doing outbound, and that involves prospecting. And I have said earlier, and for me, the only thing that comes to my mind is prospecting is the art of finding people that are in the exact moment for purchasing your product, or at least as close as possible of purchasing your product. So it's the art of finding the people that need your solution. They're just not aware about you.
Yeah,
So
that's
uh, that and behind the stage, what you need to do is leverage data and create workflows that increases your efficiency on finding these people, right? Because, for example, a very common mistake that one of my that people that before they become my clients usually commit, that is, uh, they find very good leads, but the problem is that these guys only open LinkedIn once each semester. So
yeah.
they are just perfect, but the problem is that they are not on LinkedIn. And whenever they open LinkedIn back again, they will be so overcrowded with other people's messages, or or if maybe to the contrary, they will have a ghost profile that it's simply not worth. So how do you overcome that? Just an example. You create you leverage data to find out people that are good prospects that fit your ICP, but at the same time they're active on LinkedIn. They're just not just ghost profiles. For example, in at Ignite Sales, we only work with engaged to highly engaged profiles. If a person has not been around for uh, a minimum a maximum 15 days back from now, then we just discard them, no matter how good that profile is. They are
Mm-hmm.
not accepting our connection request, and they are not reading your messages. I'm soon to launch a couple of studies I did regarding uh, connection acceptance rate by the presence of a person on LinkedIn. So if a person last activity on LinkedIn was 15 days ago, 10 days, 5 days, 3 days, 2, 1 days. How
Mm-hmm.
likely are they to accept connection requests? And the same for to respond to DMs, to see how much LinkedIn activity impacts the return that you have from your prospecting. Maybe
That's
I
amazing.
rambled a little bit about prospecting here, but yeah, this is the answer.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Prospecting basically is just the process of finding people that want your service or your product when they want it and reaching out to them. That's that's prospecting, and you're conducting a study to find out how LinkedIn activity affects conversion towards either a buy or engagement in a conversation, or engagement success of a prospect, basically. And I guess anyone that's interested in that should find you on LinkedIn, and definitely for, I guess that's going to be a giveaway as well. I'm going to be first. I'm going to be first in line, first in line for that giveaway. Uh, while I have like so many questions here, I see that we've come up on time, so I'd love to, even if there's anything you want to share, you want to talk about, now's the time to plug that in here. I know you do a lot of great work with prospecting, sales prospecting, for partners. So maybe you could just share a bit more about that, and anyone needing help, beyond all that you've shared here today, can just reach out to you.
Yeah, so after talking to a lot of people, I just figured out that the best model for this is providing specialized knowledge in the sales area, especially for people that need to improve that go to market strategy. The point is that there are so many small details that play a huge difference in your outcomes when it comes to outbound. That is, uh, founders and small teams often can't just deal with that. So they're losing
Yeah.
efficiency. So I prefer to have a more done for you approach. Like, hey, why don't you simply don't worry about building your lists and building your targets? Let's just
Hmm.
create the ideal client profile together and see how that
Hmm.
translates into data points we're scrapping.
Yeah.
And you just have to worry about going forward and talking to these people with the certainty that you are targeting people that are at the right spot of the sales process, right? So I build automated workflows that does that and deliver prospects leads for the people, no matter your total addressable market, no matter your sales team size. I can feed it up on a timed basis, no problem, leveraging the best of data analytics and data engineering for prospecting. Uh,
Yeah.
so this is my best approach when it comes to leveraging Ignite sales products and also making people happy.
Yeah.
So to sales and outbound efforts to become less of a concern and more of a certainty.
Yeah. I love that, the certainty, because that's why a lot of grifters, at least, do not promise. Is we're gonna we're gonna try, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's great to have at least someone that knows their stuff. And I love the precision with which you go at prospecting and outbound, rather than we're going to reach out to 50,000 people and then we'll see. But more going, we will be precise so that we know conversion will be great, and we're not going to burn the cartridges, like you said, when trying to reach out to these people. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
definitely. As we discussed earlier, this is a numbers game. So the problem is that if you commit the same old mistakes, you can expect something different to happen in the future. And with just the right adjustments to your number strategy, you can increase your sales efficiency by 50%, 100%, doesn't matter. And that's so easy to do, but you have to go through the hard way, the hard path first until you figure that out. then
Yeah.
this, I don't want founders and sales managers to just have to face that, mainly in a crucial moment. For example, you are within the first year of your business, the first year of your company. Why spend, I don't know, 3 to 6 months until you have the perfect lead generation process? So for example, you target 1,000 people every month, just an example to make it simpler. And if you increase your connection request acceptance or your positive DM reply rate from 100 people to 300 just by targeting people that are active on LinkedIn and not overlooking this type of aspects of segmenting, man, you are tripling your sales, right?
Yeah.
With a very, very small effort. This is what founders should think about, and sales managers, sales directors, doesn't matter, should think
Yeah.
about at this moment. And I'm not
Yeah.
just advertising my service here, it's an advice for whoever that is going to the market at this moment.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. What I get from this is think about these small levers that you could pull that would like 3x, your outcomes, right? For instance, just
Yeah,
targeting folks that are active on LinkedIn rather than spraying praying and hoping
yeah,
that they meet your ICP so they are good, rather than they meet your ICP but they are active. So there's a high chance that your connection request will be accepted and your message will be replied. That's great. Thank you so much, Gustavo. Well, anyways, we've come to the end of this stream. This was fantastic, filled with gems here and there. I learned a lot personally with LinkedIn prospecting as well. So thank you so much, Gustavo. And for everyone that's listening to this, there are no comments here, so I assume everyone is having like great time and got carried away, which is which is which is good, which is great. If you have any questions for Gustavo, um, you can find him on LinkedIn with Gustavo Grossi. I could just put your LinkedIn profile here in the chat. I would just put the URL here. So if you go to this URL, that's Gustavo on on LinkedIn. Just look for very nice LinkedIn profile. I think that's it. That's the one. You're definitely there. Anyways, thank you so much, Gustavo, and that's another episode of Everything Outside Code. Cheers.
Cheers. My pleasure, man. Hope to talk